Let's talk about the 12 books I read in March in order from least favorite to favorite and whether or not I'd recommend. Starting with The Greatest Salesman in the World. No. It reads like a parable. Think The Alchemist. And it had a lot of potential. It follows our main character who is given these 10 commandments, essentially, on how to become the best salesman. And he's only allowed to pass it down to one person. He's waiting on this sign. It starts off really interesting. It just becomes very preachy once we get to the 10 commandments part. There were a lot of overt religious messages in this book, if you can even call it a book, it's so short, and I didn't sign up for that. Next is Empire of Silence. And no, I did a full review on this. I thought our main character was insufferable. It was really boring. The story follows Hadrian Marlowe, this privileged character with daddy issues. His father sends him away to a job that he does not want, and he rebels, and it takes him on this whole journey that he did not plan for. Now, the world building in this is quite excellent, I will say that. I think that this story has potential, and I understand so many people love it. They say it gets better in the later books. A part of me is curious and wants to see, but then a bigger part is like, I don't think I can make it through another 800 pages of this, so TBD. Then we've got Assassin's Quest, and yes, especially if you've read books 1 and 2, you kind of have to finish out the series. But this was my least favorite in the trilogy. I thought it was way too long. It was very repetitive. But I hear that Farseer is like a prequel to the rest of the Realm of the Elderlings, and I can understand that. I think that this book sets up for a lot. I really enjoyed Hobb's writing. Something about it makes me want to savor it. I consume it slower, and I feel like every time I read one of her books, I'm about to be put into a reading slump. In a good way, mostly. So even though this one wasn't as great as I had hoped, I do still think that it's worth reading, especially if you love getting your heart ripped out and emotional attachment to characters. Yeah, it's time you meet Fitz. Next is This Monster of Mine. It was a good time, a unique concept. The end kind of fell off for me, so I'm gonna go with maybe. The story follows our main character who, after a major accident 4 years prior, has the chance to go back to the scene of the crime and find out what happens. It places her in front of Kadra, our MMC. As far as MMCs go, he was very appealing. He was probably the main reason for my enjoyment of this. Towards the end, the FMC starts making decisions for the sake of plot, and that's one of my biggest book icks. So I did think that the first half of this is better than the second, but I also think that in the world of romantasy where things are becoming very basic, this is a standout. Then Cowboy Casual, and maybe, if you can get behind a good time and well-written smut. This is a basic cowboy romance. Our FMC was cheated on, she returns to her hometown, reunites with her ex-boyfriend, who has a kid now. I think kids add a really unique element to romance, and for me personally, I'm not a huge kids person, but for some reason, kids in books, I really like. I don't know, someone psychoanalyze me. I know book 2, Small Town Smoke Show, is coming out soon, and I'm really interested to see how that compares. There were really great aspects of found family in this, and that's something I'll eat up regardless of the genre. So if it's done well in book 2, I think the series can have a lot of potential. Then Amid Clouds and Bones, and this is another maybe. The book was a good time, true enemies to lovers, and there were solid fantasy elements. Our FMC is a princess. Half mortal, half fae, and she's promised the Seelie prince. They don't like each other from the jump, but the tension there's so much tension. There's court politics, there's intrigue, there's this war going on low-key with the Unseelie, and that plays into the plot. Without spoiling anything, there's a second love interest. I didn't love that second love interest, and I think that took away a lot for me. The FMC spends some time with him, time that I wish we were with our other MMC, but overall I had a great time listening to this one. Then The Night and the Moth, and it's another maybe. I think that this was technically a good book. Very atmospheric writing. Something was missing for me, but it's probably still worth checking out. In this, our FMC is a diviner. She's lived her whole life being told one thing, but when her fellow diviners start going missing, she starts realizing that maybe what she thought was true of her life. Sorry, I actually could cry because my phone stopped recording in the middle of talking about this one because I ran out of space. Yeah. Anyway, I did not feel like this book lived up to the hype for me. Something was missing. The relationship just kind of felt mediocre. Yes, it was atmospheric. Yes, the writing was technically very good, but I don't know. I guess I'm hoping for more out of book 2. Next is The Bluest Eye. And yes, but prepare yourself to be uncomfortable. This is not an easy read. Our FMC in this, yes, she's a little black girl who thinks that having blue eyes will solve all of her problems because that's the beauty standard. The story is told through multiple different point of views, through different seasons. This little girl's parents, other girls in this town. It was just a really difficult topic. I think it's still relevant today. People think that once you achieve a certain beauty standard, things are just easier. And to some extent, that's not wrong. But for the most part, our traumas, the things that happen in life, regardless of beauty, are the things that stick with us. And Pekala, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, she's got some trauma. So if you're gonna read this one, check your triggers, but I definitely think it's worth the read. And it has me so curious to read more Toni Morrison. I just think that the writing was exquisite. Every word was clearly intentional. Next is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Yeah, I'm always gonna say yes to a Harry Potter book, especially these full cast audiobooks because they're just done so well. This is where the series really starts to take a turn. Things are darker. The first 90% is fun. You have these games and trials. If you live under a rock and don't know what happens, Harry gets put in this tournament that he's not even supposed to be in. The ending to this really sets the tone for the rest of the series. I cannot believe that it's still being called a children's series. If you haven't read Harry Potter yet, you absolutely should, especially before the HBO show comes out. Like, this is your opportunity. Then we've got Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And yes, but know that this book isn't as science heavy as it may seem. It's really focused more on the relationships. The story follows Joan, and she has always wanted to be amongst the stars. She's this woman in the 1980s. Astronauts were not women at that time, but they were just starting to accept women into their programs. So Joan and a select group of women are training to become astronauts. She realizes throughout this experience that she wants to be more than just her job. She finds a connection. It's a sapphic romance. It's forbidden romance because we're getting a love story in the 1980s between two women when being gay was like illegal. It just is crazy for me to even say that. I can't believe loving someone was ever illegal. But the book's very emotional. All the characters I cared so deeply about, even the ones that are really side characters, they weren't featured a ton. And I think that says a lot about Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing. Next is Heart the Lover, and yes, I was sobbing by the end of this. This had such a great message. The story starts off pretty mundane. Our FMC's at college with her boyfriend. She has more of a connection with her boyfriend's roommate. People say that this is a love triangle. It's not. Don't go into this thinking that. But things don't work out exactly as our main character plans. Choices are made. The next two parts are a reflection of those choices. And at the end, you're just left with this message. You're left staring at the wall and thinking about how you have to live with your choices. You have to live in the present. The fact that it had such a profound message in less than 300 pages is incredible. And lastly, Red City by Marie Lu. This has crime syndicates, second chance romance, super unique magic system. Trust me, yeah, you need to read this. The story follows Sam and Ari. They're very different characters, but I related and liked them both equally. The magic system in this is what really has me raving though, because it just was so unique. It's science-based. It's all about alchemy, transmuting one thing into another, and there's rules about what can be transmuted. It depends on the chemical composition. To that extent, it reminded me of Blood Over Brighthaven, that STEM-esque magic. Otherwise, totally Jade City coded. Urban fantasy. There was a romance in here that I ate up. I don't think it's necessarily supposed to be the one that we eat up. I just am a sucker for the bad boy that hates everyone but her, and I don't think we're gonna get that in book 2, but my fingers are crossed. And there we have my March reading wrap up. This is also the first video that I've made intended for YouTube. If you stuck around till the end, thank you so much. Let me know your thoughts on these books, on this video, what you guys want to see on this channel, and I'll see you next time.